this is Ed. I want to give a little bit of an idea of a class that I've been teaching for a number of years about music licensing. And what music licensing is, it's taking music tracks, completed tracks that you already have made. Maybe they're tracks from years before. They might be something you're making today. They could be from an album. You might be a singer-songwriter. You might be a composer. Those are kind of the two big areas where this stuff comes from. And you put it in media. Now the difference is, rather than taking a track and putting it on a CD and selling the CD, or taking a track or taking some music and playing it live on stage, this is giving a secondary use for your music. If you watch television, see movies, look at websites, you'll see music permeating all of those things, and at some point one of those companies, whether it's Warner Brothers or somebody else, they have to license this music for money, usually, and pay somebody for it. And that's what I teach, the process of doing that. It's not complex. It isn't a big deal. The classes I teach are not that long. They can be anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. And I can give you a fairly complete idea of what I do. I also do it personally, privately, through Skype, or if somebody comes into my studio in Seattle. I have a small studio. It's not a professional studio that I book out, but I do all the work I can here. And right now I have a Mac. I've had Macs forever, since the beginning of Macs, and use Logic, which is called a DAW, digital workstation. And I can create orchestral music on it. I can record any of my percussion instruments. I'm a percussionist as well. But anyway, I can do a lot of that myself. And I think the reason why licensing is so popular now is that people can do a lot of this themselves. If you don't have a recording studio, or you are not sure you're a good enough engineer, and I don't think any of us really are these days, you can usually get help, because somebody probably within a block's radius of where you live has recording equipment. You know, almost any computer can have simple recording equipment. You can get other types of standalone devices, things like that. So it doesn't necessarily cost a lot of money. The reason I mention that is that if you have to go to a recording studio every time you want to make a track, for a lot of the kind of things I do, it wouldn't work that well. Although I love using recording studios, and I recommend them highly, especially when you want to have recordings that you're going to put on CDs and that sort of thing. So anyway, what we discuss in the class are kind of what are the organized tasks you need to do to kind of get involved in this, and many of them share with what you're already probably doing if you're a singer-songwriter or a musician. In other words, do you have a record company? Do you have a publishing entity? Something legal like that. So we got to talk about how to set that up if you don't have it. You can exist without those things, but it makes life a lot easier if you do have them. And again, they don't cost a lot of money to do this sort of thing as well. So it might have to do with maybe setting up a studio if you can, or working with other people that can, getting your paperwork together with publishing and business entities, stuff like that. And then you got to just start looking at what kind of markets you're going to go after. There are companies that can help to pitch music to. Some of them cost money, some are free. They're always changing. I use a little bit of everything out there. And then there's also other things out there called music libraries that take lots of music, put it together, organize it, put it in databases, and then clients come to them to grab music by genre, style, instrumentation, all sorts of things like that. And those libraries can be exclusive, they can be non-exclusive. There's all sorts of things changing with these types of deals as far as your back-end royalties and that sort of thing. So anyway, you can kind of expect to potentially make money when you or a company representing you sells these tracks to television or a film. You might make some upfront money. There might be back-end royalties. You got to learn about BMI and ASCAP or CSAC or any of the other worldwide, what we call PROs, performance royalty organizations. And these are companies that collect money for you. I mean, the beauty of this sort of thing is one piece of music can actually make money for many, many years to come. There are composers and songwriters that make a living on their back-end royalties. So if you're good at this, if you get really into it, I think there's a lot of revenue that you can make, and it certainly takes the pressure off of what you're going to try and make performing live or selling CDs these days, or trying to find streaming income. So this is additional revenue, It also links you up with larger things that are out there. In other words, if you are a singer-songwriter or composer and you get a song in a major film, that's a nice piece of credit you can put on there. If you go to my website at hartmanmusic.com, you see lots of credits, lots of logos. Those are all companies that my music is wound up in. Some of them I don't even know until after it's done, because these companies don't always report this information. So I'm always on the lookout, watching my statements from BMI for myself, and just there's companies that can track this sort of thing. And every once in a while, one of my tracks winds up on a television show. I don't even necessarily know about it until after the fact. And it does take a long time to get paid for this sort of thing. And it can be pennies, dimes, dollars, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, depending on the situation. I'd say, again, the singer-songwriter population and then the more instrumental composer population are fairly evenly divided on how we get this sort of licensing work done. So anyway, if you're interested in this class, I think it's really valuable, because I think that these types of extra revenue streams are probably the best way to actually achieve some actual income in the music industry at this point. And the record labels that are left, which aren't that many, and publishers know this, so they're going after this revenue as well. The beauty of it is we all have access to equipment nowadays. We have access to the industry, so if you can learn about all this stuff, music supervisors that pick music for radio and or TV and film and all media, games, all the rest of that sort of thing. If you can learn about that, learn how to access the industry, that's half of the game. I don't think it's that hard to do. I think it's something anybody can do, and it's something I would recommend to anybody who's especially coming out of music school or wants to become a professional musician of some kind. You don't have to necessarily be widely varied composer. If your specialty is percussion, which actually is mine, even though I do other stuff, you want to let the industry know that, because somewhere in the world there's a demand for whatever the heck you want to do. It could be ukulele, it could be nose flute. I mean, it can be anything. So just understand that whatever you're doing right now, you just have to simply find a demand for somebody who's looking for it. So if you're interested, my website is at hartmanmusic.com. And you can find me, if you Google my name, you'll probably see me pop up here and there as well. So take a look on there. I usually list where my current classes are, and there's, again, a lot of free information on there as well. I've been doing a monthly newsletter for a long time. All the archives are on there as well, so you can look up and read some of these adventures of music licensing that I've been doing for a number of years now. So hope to see you down the road at one of my classes in Seattle or beyond. And please stay in touch. Let me know if you do get any placements in television and film. I'd love to add those to newsletters and information, so that if anybody who's getting information from me gets some success, I'd like to be able to pass that on to future students and anybody interested in this field. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.